The calendar was booked out for another 2 moors. One would really think clients would have started going elsewhere once they found out the wait was more than a decacycle or 2. They must really be getting desperate. The comm lines rang again. It seemed like they rang more often than they were quiet lately. Dasan eyed the calendar and picked up the call.
Hello, you've reached AIM Inspections. This is Dasan speaking. How can I help you today?
Hi, I was told you offer haunting inspections. We've had a flarg of an attempt trying to hire lately, and our crew's numbers are starting to dwindle fast.
Yeah, we offer supernatural analysis inspections. I must warn you now that we are booked out until mid-Carouse on the Burn Tea calendar.
That's not as soon as I'd like, but honestly, you're the 3rd place I've called, and that's the soonest I've heard. What do you need for me to get started?
Well, I've got just a few questions, get a bit of information, then I'll send you a form and I'll get you on the schedule. First off, to whom am I speaking, and may I ask what alerted you to the need for our services?
Ryord Esh, Operations Manager for the Bantar Outer Fleet, and I'd say we were alerted the same way as most people. Tried hiring some humans, but they claimed our ships were haunted. That's since spread around. No one wants to work on a ship where even humans are scared, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. That's a pretty common problem we've been hearing about.
Have you been able to fix this? I mean, for the ships you have done the inspections for.
Oh yes, we've got a 100% ghost-free guarantee. Now, if I could get a bit of info from you, I can go ahead and get you scheduled for mid-Carouse.
The rest of the call went smoothly. Before Dasan hung up, he assured Riordash that, should another client cancel, they'd be moved up in the queue, to which they were grateful. And with that, another client on the long, long list. For the vast majority of haunted ships, the supernatural inspections ran almost identically to normal ship inspections. It was funny how often sudden cold spots were just a simple draft, or feelings of paranoia or being watched turned out to be caused by a previously undetected gas leak. The initial inspectors would simply write up a detailed report on what needed to be fixed, and boom, suddenly the ship no longer has a hard time finding crew to hire. But there were exceptions. The kind of exceptions that really threw a rock into an otherwise simple business plan. Before this job, Dasan did not consider himself to be superstitious in any way, and still adamantly claimed to not believe in ghosts and haunts and spookums. But even he had to second-guess his stance once coworkers came back from some of their more problematic jobs. One job in particular still gave him shivers. He'd been asked to join an inspection tour on one of the largest ships their company had done to date. It was a new, fresh off the assembly line, Bulletin Cruiser Class 6. The ship's sheer size meant more hands were needed for the inspection crew to get everything checked out, and even then it still took an entire day cycle just to get through everything. What a day it was. The ship, again, was new. It should have had no issues. However, upon checking some of the paperwork for its production, it turned out that not all of the parts were completely new. There had been a terrible accident a while back. Another Bulletin Cruiser Class 6 had crashed. The Beiji disaster. There were survivors, but far more lives were lost. It was a tragic accident, a perfect storm of circumstances mixed with just enough miscommunication that caused it all. While sifting through the wreckage, it was discovered that some parts of the ship were still in good condition. After intense inspection and testing, they were eventually used in the construction of another Bulletin cruiser, the very one AIM Inspections had been hired to inspect. They checked everywhere. There were no gas leaks to explain why crew members would feel paranoid or even panicked, insisting that they were not alone when no one else was there. There was nothing wrong with the pipes in the boiler room, even though engineers insisted that they would hear unexplained banging and screeching metal near the end of their shifts. All was 20 men ticks before their shift ended. It never mattered what time of the day cycle they were working, it was always 20 men ticks before the end of their shift. With further investigation, it was widely claimed that the chain of events that led to the Beiji crashing had taken about 20 Mentics to come to fruition. But one of the worst aspects of the haunted ship was something Dasan and his team hadn't experienced with any other ship inspections. Several crew members, passengers, and even a few Cloxon dignitaries had claimed that they had seen the Beiji captain aboard their ship. They claimed they'd seen her face quite clearly. She never said anything. She never interacted with anyone. She'd just be there. And then she'd be gone. Like someone had flipped a switch and turned off some sort of ghostly projector. There were official reports of these sightings, several, in fact, most of which were made by otherwise level-headed individuals that would have had nothing to gain by falsifying such reports. They spent far longer on this inspection than they had on any other project, and with other jobs starting to pile up in the meantime, a decision was ultimately made to remove the parts of the ship that were originally part of the Beiji and replace them with identical fresh parts off the assembly line. All reports of any haunting phenomenon suddenly stopped. Dasan decided to stick to his office job after that. He still claimed to be a skeptic of the supernatural, and in most cases he was. Being so now was part of his line of work. But even he had to admit that in the vastness of space, and within all the realms of possibility, there was much beyond his understanding. The comm lines rang again, pulling him out of his musings. With a sigh and a stretch, he eyed the very full calendar before answering the call. Oh hi, I wanted to give a special, spooky thank you to Showery Chunk 5 and Luke Zazook VA for doing voices for this video. This was based off of a true story, somewhat a little bit. If you don't know Flight 401, I would suggest looking up some stuff about it. Anyway, stay safe out there, be kind to others and to yourself, and happy Halloween!